She looked like just another station worker, quiet, graceful, mysterious. But Alan's instincts didn't miss details, the way the scanner malfunctioned when she walked past, the brief flicker in her eyes when someone mentioned species registry, and when her food tray glitched the kitchen sensors. He followed the spark to something far more dangerous. She wasn't human. And she wasn't supposed to be here. Cora, silver-haired, blue-skinned, and too composed for a cafeteria server, was an unregistered alien fugitive from a race Earth had blacklisted for their ability to emotionally bond, even control, human minds. And when Alan confronted her with the truth, she didn't run, she didn't threaten. She made an offer. I'll give you what no one else can. Warmth, loyalty, secrets buried in skin. Just don't turn me in now. The man who swore loyalty to interstellar law must choose between the safety of the system or the warmth of a woman who might burn through everything he thought he believed in. She doesn't want to hide anymore. She wants to belong to him, and maybe, just maybe, he wants to say yes. Security on an interstellar research vessel isn't supposed to be exciting. Routine patrols, identity checks, the occasional AI maintenance glitch. That's how Alan preferred it. Quiet corridors, neutral faces, silence broken only by the hum of distant engines. But lately, one presence had started breaking that silence. Cora. She worked the mess hall. Always early, always polite, never caused trouble, but something about her was too smooth, too perfect, her movements fluid, almost rehearsed. Her eyes too luminous under artificial lighting. And that skin, blue, not painted, not inked, real. He tried not to watch her, but he always did. The first red flag came 3 days ago. Alan was walking past the supply dock when the biometric scanner glitched. Static flashed. A soft jolt of energy shimmered in the air, and there she was, Tharien. Hand, eyes down, walking right through it. No alarm, no reaction. Most would have ignored it. Alan did in single quotes. Later that night, in the security chamber, he dug deeper. She was listed as Cora L on the duty logs. No last name, no birth registry, clearance, level 0. Even janitors had level 1. Still, she passed through all security scans without fail, which made no sense. He bypassed two firewalls, accessed the internal anomaly logs. What he found sent a chill down his spine. M signature, unknown origin. Pattern match, 82% correlation with exiled species, Tharien, the Thariens. The same race Earth had once allied with until those alliances turned to manipulation, mind-bending emotional influence, and allegations of cross-species control. They were exiled decades ago, their DNA forbidden, monitored, tracked. So what was one doing here? Disguised, alone, serving food. He waited for her shift to end, waited outside the mess, hidden in a blind corridor, and when she passed, Cora, she froze, her tray clattered to the floor. A flicker of light shimmered over her form for a split second, then just her again. Still. Silent. Eyes wide. You don't belong here, Alan said, stepping forward. Your species was banned, you're unregistered, you're Tharien. She didn't deny it, didn't plead. She simply raised her eyes to his, those glowing, pale blue eyes filled with something he didn't expect. Not fear, not defiance, but trust. If you report me, I'll be erased, she said. Her voice wasn't shaking, it was soft, measured. There's no trial, no defense, just protocol. He hesitated. What do you want from me? She stepped closer. I want safety, I want to stop hiding, I want you. He blinked. I'm not asking for mercy. I'm offering partnership, warmth, loyalty, and anything else you need. Then she leaned in, voice like thunder wrapped in silk. Let me stay with you, in your quarters, in your bed. No one will question it if we're bonded. He could arrest her, report her, or he could let her in, not just into his room, but into his life. On most days, I'm just another ghost in the corridor, badge on my chest, scanner at my hip. Footsteps echoing against steel. Security on this orbital station isn't glamorous. You check IDs, override broken doors, log minor disturbances. It's routine, predictable, but lately one variable had been throwing off the equation. Her name was Cora. The cafeteria always smelled like sterilized plastic and rehydrated meat. But every time she entered, something shifted. It wasn't perfume. It wasn't showy behavior. It was her presence. To fluid, to balanced, to perfect. Her skin shimmered faintly under the fluorescent lights, blue as Arctic dusk. She wore the standard uniform, but it fit like armor. Her white silver hair was tied back, but never messy. She barely spoke, never caused trouble, but the sensors didn't like her, neither did my instincts. The first time I noticed the glitch, I was doing my nightly patrol, coffee in hand, walking past storage deck B. A minor anomaly flashed on my HUD. Spike, level 3. Harmless unless repeated. And every time it did, Cora was nearby, carrying trays, standing quietly by the galley entrance. watching people like she was cataloging behavior. So I started watching her back. 2 nights later, I intercepted her near the biodome elevator. Her tray held nothing but utensils, no food, no purpose. I nodded, working late. She met my gaze. Cool, measured. Couldn't sleep. I thought kitchen staff weren't allowed on this level after 2200. She tilted her head. I'm not most kitchen staff. It wasn't sass, it was fact. I let her pass but tagged the moment. Sensed her biosignature to my private feed. I wasn't ready to file a report, not yet. Instead, I dove into her records. Name, Cora. Role, auxiliary nutritionist. Clearance level 0. Citizenship, unlisted. Medical history, empty. Movement history, fragment. Had no last name, no Earth registry, no off-world logs. Just a ghost that walked through scanners and smiled like she belonged, except she didn't. And the final flag? The DNA trace. Match detected. Tharien genome, category red, status, prohibited. Stared at the screen, blinking. The Thariens were the stuff of political whispers, aliens with the power to imprint emotion, to seduce minds with genetic empathy. Earth had cut ties with them decades ago, declared their biology a security threat. Their presence on any human-controlled installation was a crime. And one of them was serving mashed protein on deck 4. The next morning, I didn't report her. I confronted her. She was in the mess hall again, quietly clearing trays, dressed like anyone else, but holding herself like royalty in exile. I approached her corner. She didn't look up. Cora, I said. We need to talk, alone. She glanced up slowly. Something flickered in her eyes. Not fear, acceptance. We walked in silence to the maintenance access stairwell. No cameras, no logs. Just metal walls and humming pipes. You're not registered, I said plainly. I know. You're Tharien. I never claimed otherwise. You're a danger. Her lips parted. But no rebuttal came. She didn't deny it. She didn't beg. Instead, she stepped closer. Close enough that I could feel the heat from her skin. See the faint, shimmering patterns tracing her collarbone. I ran because I refused to be used. She said, by my own people, by yours. I said nothing. She leaned in just slightly. Her voice barely above a whisper. I don't want to hide anymore, Alan. I want to belong. My mouth was dry. So you came here, disguised as staff. No disguise. She said, just no welcome. And now, she took a slow breath, eyes locking with mine. Now, I want something real, a bond, a cover, safety. I frowned. You're asking for protection? No. She said softly, I'm offering partnership. She reached out, not to seduce, not to manipulate, but to connect. I felt it in my pulse. Her fingers grazed my wrist, and for a moment, I felt everything, her fear, her loneliness, her raw craving for trust in a world that offered none, and beneath it all, something warm, something aching. I'll share your bed, she whispered. Not as an offer, but as a vow, not for pleasure, not for silence, but for something neither of us had into long. I didn't move, because a part of me had already made the choice. That night, I didn't sleep, not because she was in my quarters, she wasn't, not yet, but because her voice kept echoing through the metal walls and into my bones. Let me stay with you, in your bed. No one will question it if we're bonded. It wasn't the words themselves that haunted me, it was the way she said them, calm, certain, without a hint of manipulation. Like she was asking for shelter during a storm she'd already survived too many times, and maybe she was. The next morning, I reviewed the Tharien dossier, an old, half-erased intelligence file buried under planetary ethics protocol. Their species hadn't waged war. They didn't conquer with ships or guns. They conquered with connection. Thariens could bond with humans, not forcibly, but deeply, emotionally, biologically, and once bonded, the human often became obsessed. Not by control. By intimacy, by understanding. By the kind of emotional closeness our kind barely remembers how to handle. An Earth labeled that a threat. Cora showed up at my door just past cycle 14. She didn't knock. She didn't need to. The sensor blinked red and I opened it before she could touch the panel. She wore the same uniform, but her hair was slightly wet. She'd washed, prepared. Her eyes met mine like she was already inside. I don't want to cause trouble, she said. You already have. A faint smile flickered. Then let me at least cause comfort. I stepped aside. She didn't bring much. A folded blanket, a nutrient bar, a silver shard that pulsed faintly when she placed it on the table. She didn't touch me, didn't crowd me, just sat by the wall and waited. You're not what I expected, I said finally. Because I'm not begging, because you're not afraid. She turned her head slowly. I'm afraid all the time. I've just learned how to carry it without looking like prey. We spoke through most of the night. Not about war, not about politics, about art, about solitude, about the first time she tasted human food and hated it, about her home planet, where the trees were taller than ships and laughter was considered currency. You think I want to be here? she asked, pretending to mop floors and serve protein slabs. No, she looked at me then. All walls down. I want to be seen, not just hidden behind paperwork and scans. You could have run. I did. I'm just tired of running. Alone, I offered her the bed. She refused. I'll sleep on the floor, she said, until you trust me. But I didn't want her on the floor, and maybe I didn't want her out of reach. So I sat beside her instead. We didn't speak after that, just silence. Not the kind that pushes people away, the kind that holds them in place. But peace doesn't last long up here, especially when secrets start making noise. The next day, I received a ping on my private terminal, untraceable, encrypted, but urgent. Unauthorized life form detected, location, Sector 4B status, investigation in process. Me blood. Turned to ice. Only a handful of people knew about Cora, but someone else was watching. When I returned to the quarters, Cora was already standing, eyes sharp. You saw it too? She asked. I nodded. They're coming. She didn't panic. She reached for the silver shard on the table and pressed a button. A soft pulse shimmered through the room for a moment. My HUD blinked offline just long enough for her to speak. I can disappear again, she said. You can tell them I was never here. And if I don't want you to disappear, she paused. You'll be branded a sympathizer, she whispered. A collaborator, you'll lose everything. I stepped closer. Then let's lose it together. That was the first time she touched me. Not to seduce, to anchor. Her hand cupped the side of my face, and for the first time I felt seen, not by scanners, not by reports, by her. She wasn't a threat. She was a mirror, and I wasn't afraid of her anymore. I was afraid of what we'd become if we didn't stop it. By the third night, she wasn't sleeping on the floor anymore. I didn't invite her into the bed. She didn't ask, but when the lights dimmed and the ship's artificial night cycle hummed to life, she walked across the cold metal floor barefoot. Silent hand laid beside me. Not to take, not to seduce, to exist beside someone who didn't fear her. I didn't stop her because I realized neither did I. We slept back to back that night. No words, no promises, just proximity. Her skin radiated a quiet warmth I hadn't felt since my days on Earth. Not heat, not electricity, something deeper, the kind of warmth that said, you're not alone anymore. The next morning, I awoke to her staring out the viewport, legs folded beneath her, silver white hair cascading down her back like starlight poured into silk. We're being watched, she said without turning. I know, I replied, rubbing sleep from my eyes. Internal surveillance, she shook her head. External. Someone aboard the ship has already reported my energy pattern. I masked it before. Now, they're triangulating. I joined her at the viewport, watching stars drift like dust across black velvet. They'll come for you, I whispered. No, she said. They'll come for us. I could have backed out. I could have handed her over, claimed ignorance. Wiped the logs. Instead, I called in sick for my shift. I spent the day building a firewall around our room's digital perimeter, rerouting energy signatures, rerunning sensor echoes, feeding the system old biologs of an empty room while we stayed locked inside while I worked. She cooked actual food, not synth slabs. Something fragrant and steaming and slightly spicy. Like she'd done this in 100 kitchens across the galaxy. You're not just a runaway, I muttered, tasting a piece of root she'd boiled. I'm a refugee, she said, a political liability, a biological red flag with a heartbeat. Is that how you see yourself? No, she replied softly, but that's how they'll write it in the report after they kill me. That night, when the lights dimmed again, she slid beneath the blanket next to me, but this time, she didn't stop with just lying beside me. She reached for my hand, fingers brushing fingers. And I didn't pull away. Her touch wasn't lust. It was memory. She showed me things not with words, but with her mind. Images, emotions, imprints, a childhood beneath alien moons, running barefoot across violet sand dunes, a mother's voice soothing her during her first flare, falling in love with someone she couldn't keep, falling out of trust with a planet that promised peace and delivered politics. I saw all of it, and then she showed me, the way she saw me, not a guard, not a man with rules, but someone standing still in a galaxy that never stopped spinning, someone she could fall into. When I opened my eyes, I was holding her, arms around her waist, her breath against my chest, her heartbeat sensing to mine, and I felt it, the bond. It wasn't supernatural. It wasn't dangerous. It was true. The kind of truth you don't explain, you feel. The next day, alarms went off, not in my room, not in hers. In my clearance logs. Unusual data encryption detected, non-human biometric presence, interrogation request pending. They were moving faster than expected. I'll run, she said simply, packing the silver shard into nutrient bars. You won't, I told her. Because we're not hiding anymore. She narrowed her eyes. Then what do you propose? I opened the wall panel behind my bunk and handed her a black badge. Level 6 clearance, Bioshield Division codename, Civilian Integration Partner. I'm invoking Directive 12, I said, emergency bonding clause, you're under my protection now. She blinked. You'd fake a planetary bond for me. No, I said quietly, and placed her hand over my chest. I'd make it real. They gave me exactly 9 minutes before the door buzzed. Not an alarm, not an alert. Just a civil, mechanical tone like they weren't here to destroy my world. Officer Allenvrin, please report to Central Command for immediate review of unauthorized bioform activity. Cora was already standing. She didn't shake, she didn't flinch. But I could tell she was ready to run. I won't let them take you, I said, suiting up, strapping my sidearm in place even though I didn't intend to. Draw. She touched my wrist gentle. If it comes down to you or me, choose you. No. I said simply, I already chose us. Command was quieter than usual. 3 figures sat behind the interrogation terminal to officers. One synthetic, no faces I recognized. The taller one stood. We're not here to punish you, Officer Vrin, she began, but we received undeniable readings. There's a class red life form in your quarters. That puts your loyalty in question. I stayed still, neutral. Cora is not a threat. She's unregistered. And were she's Tharien, I'm aware. She could manipulate your mind. You may not even realize it. I do, clearly. I'm still here, aren't I? The synthetic leaned forward. Mechanical voice sharp. Have you bonded with the subject? I answered without hesitation. Yes. Silence. Thick and heavy. The 2 officers glanced at each other. You're invoking Directive 12? One of them asked slowly, fully and legally. I submitted the partner ID registration at 0400. Do you understand what that means? The synthetic buzzed. You are making the Tharien presence on this vessel a protected union. Your life, your records, your command all tethered to hers. Then I guess I just rewrote my contract. They let me go, not because they believed me. Because the system was written by people who never thought someone would be stupid enough to do what I just did. They needed time to figure out how to handle it. I used that time to prepare. When I returned to my quarters, Cora had cleaned the place, not to pack, to honor it like it might be our last shared space before the star swallowed us. She stood by the wall panel, hand hovering near the emergency breach code. Are we fugitives? She asked. Not yet. Then what are we? I stepped forward, touching the side of her face, skin warm, eyes searching mine like they still didn't believe I stayed. We're dangerous, I said. Because they don't know what to do with love that doesn't follow their rules. The next 72 hours were a blur. The council launched a morality review of my decision. The station's atmosphere grew colder. Some crew wouldn't look me in the eye. Others nodded silently when we passed. Not approval, not judgment, just recognition, like they finally saw who I really was. Cora didn't hide anymore. She walked with me, sat beside me, ate with me. She didn't shrink. She belonged, and yet every second felt borrowed. Because eventually they would send the order. It came on the 4th night. A high-priority directive. Subject Cora, biological classification Tharien, must be transferred to a secure off-world facility for containment and observation. Officer Vrin will relinquish protective status within 24 hours or face criminal obstruction charges. I didn't tell her, not right away. Instead, I walked her to the biodome. She'd mentioned once that the artificial sunrise reminded her of her homeworld, brighter, softer, more forgiving than Earth. As we stood in the simulated morning light, she looked up at me. You've given me more than safety, she said. You've given me dignity. And maybe even something close to love. It is love, I whispered. She smiled, and that's when I broke. I handed her the datapad. She read it and nodded. I'll go, she said softly. It's better if one of us survives. No, I said. We're not playing by their ending. That night, I made the call. Not to the council. To the outerkin, a group of exile sympathizers, smugglers, bioempathy refugees who'd vanished off the grid years ago. Some called them criminals. Others called them saints. I called them hope. One reply, a simple phrase, we'll come at midnight. Have her read. The station was quiet at midnight. The kind of quiet that only comes before change. I had memorized every corridor by then, every blind camera angle, every panel that groaned a second too late. I moved through the ship like a phantom, heart thudding. Not from fear but from finality. Cora walked beside me. No disguise. No illusion. Just a silver cloak over her uniform and a calm fire in her eyes. We weren't running, we were leaving. The outerkin signal flared in docking bay 9, a ghost frequency, wrapped in a dead cargo manifest. It looked like a mining vessel on paper. But when it docked, it breathed like something alive, a ship born of no nation, no rule, no restraint. Cora paused at the threshold, her fingers tightened around mine. They'll call you a traitor, she said. They already do. They'll strip your title, your citizenship, you'll lose your world. I looked at her, really looked, blue skin lit by emergency lights, eyes soft but steady. Her presence more real than any law I'd ever served. I haven't lost anything, I whispered. I just chose something better. We boarded together. The ship sealed behind us with a hiss like an exhale of old sins. Inside, it was warmer than I expected. Smelled like real metal, fresh air, and freedom wrapped in danger. A woman with cybernetic arms nodded at us. Welcome to the edge. A young boy with glimmering eyes scanned Cora, Tharien imprint. Fully bonded, emotional sync at 91%. They weren't lying. The woman smirked. Rare, brave. Maybe both. We flew for hours, silent as ghosts slipping through cracks in reality. My neural link picked up council chatter within the hour. Officer Alan Vren has disappeared, suspected involvement with a Class Red fugitive. Considered compromised and rogue. I smiled. Cora rested her head on my shoulder. They'll keep hunting us, she murmured. Let them. Days passed, then weeks stopped. We found refuge in a drifting colony. Suspended in the magnetic fields of a dying gas giant. No governments, no IDs. Just people who had chosen freedom over structure. We got new names, new codes, but I kept calling her Cora. She kept calling me Alan because no matter how far we ran, what mattered stayed the same. One morning, I found her sitting beside the meditation pool, hands folded over her stomach. Eyes lost in thought. Everything okay? I asked, crouching beside her. She nodded slowly, then whispered, there's life inside me. I froze. Not in fear, in awe. She reached for my hand, placed it against her midsection. I didn't think it was possible, she said. Tharien biology rarely mixes, but the bond, the choice, the truth between us, it's rewriting everything. Tears stung my eyes. You're pregnant, she smiled. Yes. We didn't announce it, didn't document it. There were no parades, no celebrations, just quiet joy. Just nights holding each other, dreaming of a child who would never belong to one species or one world, but who would carry the truth of both. And that was enough, more than enough. Sometimes I stare out at the stars and wonder how close we came to missing all this. One report, one hesitation, one refusal to believe that something forbidden could be real. But love doesn't need permission. It doesn't ask for clearance. It doesn't bow to flags or documents or fear. Love arrives, unapologetic, untamed, unavoidable, and when it comes, you either choose it or lose it forever. I chose her. And in choosing her, I found something no uniform ever gave me. A life, a purpose, a future. Cora is no longer a fugitive. She's my partner, my peace, my family. And soon, she'll be the mother of a child born from defiance and devotion. A child not of war, but of hope.